welcome to another episode of Va Tutto Bene, the podcast with heart, life, humor, and an Italian accent. Today, my guest is Nidah Barber, mother, business owner, and a great, insightful person. Hi Nidah, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Come va?
Va tutto bene.
I love that one. I love it. So Nidah, let's talk a little bit about you and where are you from?
Well, I'm born and raised in Massachusetts, and I moved to LA about 23 years ago. Yeah.
23 years ago.
Right.
That's a very big stretch, huh?
So when people ask me where I'm from, I think because of how I look, like, oh, is she American or I'm of Lebanese descent?
Yes, Lebanese.
So let's just get that out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lebano. Ay, la, 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 la.
Yeah.
I love the music of your country.
Thank you.
And also the people are very warm.
Yeah, they are.
Right?
They're fun.
They're very fun.
Yeah,
They're very warm.
Fun group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're also an actress.
I am.
And a voiceover artist.
And
In fact, you just came from a voiceover job.
I did, yes. Yeah, it's a lot, but it's fun. You got to keep it interesting. You can't just be the mom. You can't just be the business owner. You got to have the creative side too. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine, I don't know how people go through their lives with one profession. I would just go out of my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All your creativity, the things that make you feel good, the things that you have to do, right. And juggle the things that you must do.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fun. I think my kids are, inspired by it, because for the longest time I was just selling peels, slinging peels, and then COVID came and I was packaging the peels and sending them out.
So wait, let's go back.
Okay.
So you also are a business owner and you are the owner of the business, chemical peel business called The Peel Connection in Beverly Hills.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you've been doing this, you're a specialist.
I am. So I've been doing chemical peels for 15 years.
How did you get into chemical peel?
Well, I actually have a degree in communications PR many years ago, but I ended up getting a chemical peel and I was just obsessed with the results. So yeah, I just started formulating, researching, learning all this different stuff. Vanity.
So it's like a skin rejuvenation.
Yeah, so it's chemical peel. So it's basically taking off the epidermis.
Yes. And
the top layer of the papillary dermis. That's a medium depth chemical peel. So it's basically about treating fine lines and wrinkles and hyperpigmentation is a big one. Sun damage is, it's a big deal.
Especially in California.
Yeah. Southern California, we definitely have a lot of sunspots to be taken care of.
Right. The sun in California, I'm noticing it doesn't feel as strong, but it's very aggressive.
Unless you're wearing a hat constantly and sunblock. When I came here from Boston, I was after 6 months, I went home to visit and my mom just looked at me and I was always wearing a hat everywhere I went. And my mom looked at me and she was like, you don't have a spot on you. And I'm like, because I'm wearing hats everywhere.
Hats.
Yeah.
So would you say wearing hats, it's probably better than just sunscreen? It protects better?
I have to be careful how I say that because it's very controversial right now with sunscreen. But I personal preference.
You can say your opinion.
Of course. So my personal preference is I wear hats. If I'm wearing hats, I usually wear sunscreen. But if I had to, pick one, or what's faster for me is throwing a hat on and running out of the house in the morning.
You have 2 kids, right?
Yes.
And they are at school now.
6 and 11.
6 and 11. Mm-hmm. And so they're at school, so you got some time back. But I have the feeling that this is going to be a really fun and really interesting episode about motherhood because, culturally wise, we're very close, Italians and, your culture, Lebanese culture. That being said, we're very hot, very warm,
lots of passion. Yeah, my mother's best friend was Italian.
One thing I liked very much about you, reading your interview on Forbes, it was what you said about how being able to get more things done now that you have children rather than before when you were maybe more procrastinating. But I love that. I love that because, being a mom myself, I can see that. I literally am like, okay, that's what I have. And that's what I have. The time is that to get that done.
Yeah. You do. You budget your time more. And you never, like, that's one of the things no one ever tells you before going into motherhood. You just think you're just going to be this, like, overwhelmed, frazzled mom with, your sole focus is going to be the baby and that's going to be it. But you do learn to do more. And, like, they say, like, if you want something done, give it to the busiest person in the office, because that person will get it done. And when you allot yourself that time, like, when my babies were asleep, like, that was it. I was just, like, hammering away and doing what I needed to do, like it just
So true.
I think
That's
more than
the
when I was
nap,
single,
right?
more than when I was single.
Yeah,
I mean, you just, when you have a certain amount of time, you want to get things done, it's like,
yeah.
and
Like, you have your windows, that's the window while he's having breakfast, the window while he's having his nap, the window while, right before the bath. And of course, again, your kids are at school, but we're talking, like, from motherhood, like the beginning to the whole journey. It is actually something that I'm experiencing myself as well. It's like, so that is what I got, that is what I'm gonna get done, and I'm gonna get it done, and there's no
and you do
way around it, and
no
you do
messing
it.
around, no messing around,
And you do it. By the way, I literally have these 40 minutes, and then I gotta go with my son. I today, in order to do this, schedule around it, and it's all about the kids, and it's all about them, their schedule, and then you have to fit our schedule, and then, we talk a lot about it. There are lots of working moms out there. Everything we bring will impact and help other moms out there, or other parents. If you have to describe in one word, what's motherhood?
One word.
I'm gonna go first while you're thinking about it. I would say multitask.
Yes. You do. You become a queen multitasker, an expert multitasker,
right?
Problem solver too.
Problem solver.
Yeah, tons of
problem solver.
Yeah.
And
that's life, though. It is.
So being a mom, of course, makes you also a better human being, right? Like, more complete also in that term, because you have someone's.
I mean, I was, motherless, I was childless for 40 years. So when I look back, I mean, definitely, you think you're teaching them something because you're their parent, and they teach you a lot. Because you get to, see yourself and who you show up as with them in the face of tantrums and them not listening, or, repeating yourself constantly, and who you show up as, and then getting that redirection or a constant, like, reassessment or on how you're going to parent them. I mean, it's like, it's huge self-discovery. It really is. I mean, you think that you're teaching them everything, and they are teaching you so much if you're paying attention to that, if you're really open to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in this whole journey, being a mom at 40, like, I don't know you, I personally love being a mom in my 40s. Like, with the experience of life that we bring on to this chapter, to this phase, and being able to give that, I would probably not been able to give to my son the experiences and the, literally I would have not been as complete for him. So that's a very good positive view for me. It's very more common to be a mom in the 40s. And about that, I would like to talk about, when you talk about pregnancy, you hear, the sickness, the morning sickness or the evening sickness, whatever, if you have sickness coming. And then all the mood changes, or you gaining weight and all of this stuff. But what I'm noticing, I don't know, do you feel like that maybe there's too much focus on those things and not enough on the amazing parts about being pregnant? I'm like, me, since the day one, I knew it was a boy. I knew before I even found out. Also had an amazing pregnancy when, high risk pregnancy. I mean, blessed by God, I think, because I had the best time ever since the beginning. Like, he was going to sleep with me, waking up with me. When I was like, hey, are you there? I'm like, beep, 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 like the little feet. It's like literally the best pregnancy. Many other women don't have the same experience. How was your pregnancy since, in your 40s with both children?
It was pretty good, except for always the first trimester, like the nausea. But with my daughter, first baby, She it was a lot of nausea till 14 weeks. I had like
Oh.
sense. I couldn't leave my house. Everything smelled horrible.
Yes.
Like even flowers, just everything smelled awful. I had to change my toothpaste brand like 4 times. Apparently it's very common. So getting, past that, like being assaulted, my nose being assaulted.
Any cravings?
On
Like
the
so,
day.
like pad thai at
I
4
got a
a.m.
few.
I mean, that was like any cravings you had?
Peanut butter chocolate shakes with with my daughter.
Thank you for not saying pickles and whatever
No,
that people say.
none of that.
Yeah, pickles
butter.
and what is the thing?
Yeah, pickles and ice cream.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
that's gross. No, I had a peanut butter chocolate. Oh, they're so good, and it was so cool, and I loved it. Like,
I miss every step of it. Even when they say, oh, the fatigue and walking like a dog and all of that. Look, I rode horses until 7 months, until he turned. And and then back on horses after my C-section healed. But frankly, it was awesome. Is there something positive that you would like to share about the being pregnant at 40s?
I felt very ready. Like I wasn't missing out. I was happy to be home, happy to be the mom and hold the baby, love the baby, and just I didn't want to be out with my friends. I didn't want to go out to bars. I didn't want to go to a restaurant. I didn't miss any of that. I
Right.
felt completely committed and in the moment,
Yeah.
just fully present for my kids. And the thing is like I think if I had kids in my 30s, it wouldn't have been the same experience.
Yeah.
I would have been wanting to go out and feel like I'm FOMO, missing out, fear of missing out.
I see. Yes. And I think it's really funny and comic sometimes, the motherhood, it doesn't matter what age, but even more so at this, at 40s again, because we're dealing with so many things, and the business and the calls and the emails and, bombarded by life. But the boss is your child,
Yeah. Lots
Cart
of
and
multitasking.
multitasking is
Oy.
the number one word that I think, and men cannot be multitasking.
They're
That's
not
why
wired that
moms
way.
are
Their brains are not wired to be that.
correct.
It's been studies, right?
Yes,
Been
yes,
done for that.
yeah,
And it makes perfect sense why we have the children.
perfect sense.
Perfect sense.
Yes,
And the nurturing ability that comes with
Yes.
that.
The
To have
empathy.
children, the empathy.
the most beautiful relationship ever with your child.
Oh, it's so true.
The
All the
most
cliches are
beautiful. Like literally,
Yeah.
like separation anxiety level.
And the whole fear, like SIDS, but the whole SIDS, like fear of SIDS when they're babies. It's an irrational fear that women have, like where they're like they think.
I heard that that's part of postpartum as well. Did you have that?
I did not, but I know a lot
good.
of people who did not, and they had the same quote irrational fears of SIDS. Like, is the baby breathing? It's like,
Oh yeah, when they do
is
the
baby
nap,
breathing?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I'm sure there are different levels. Like I was
Yeah.
like checking, is it breathing? From
Yes.
the baby cam or like go check, in the beginning. So you are very successful mom of 2 and business owner, and living in LA. You had to go through some challenges that I'm aware of, which is losing your house practically during the fires.
That's right.
And so
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, being evacuated since January 7th. We've moved. We were fortunate to that our house was still standing, but not. We were
Surrounded.
one of 2 houses left in the neighborhood, and everything else is burned down. So
Unbelievable.
we left. We've moved 3 times since, and yeah, it's been definitely interesting. I mean, it's definitely new territory, and I tell my kids, like, you've lived through COVID.
Yes.
Now you're living
Yes.
through this. Like, I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with,
Yes.
the blizzard of 1978 in Massachusetts,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where you open the door and there's 4 feet of snow. Like, that was my trauma growing up. My
Right.
kids now, it's been COVID, and then now it's
COVID
it's a fire.
lockdown.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, it's been very challenging. We're trying to figure out our forever home right now, and it's just hard because we
So-
finally are settled in a place.
Yes.
And I want to decorate it, but I know I'm moving in
Yes.
probably six months to a year.
Yes.
So.
Actually, I want to talk to you about this part. Like how do you cope with this? Like these challenges, this challenge, like you're not obviously the only one.
Right.
It's like a ton of people that, oh my goodness, so much loss and devastation. Something so permanent that, you can, get back. So it's a big change. How do you, and, what really brings you on through the day to a positive thought?
So the biggest thing was making sure their adjustment, it was an okay one. So obviously, like when they found out the house was still standing, they were happy. But so for me, what makes me happy is creating things to do for them. Like we made it fun for them. Like we obviously stayed at a hotel. So we were like, oh, we're doing a staycation for 2 months at one place, you know. Oh, we're going to move again, a new experience. And my daughter's complaining like, oh, I've got to sort out my clothes again, Mom. And she's whining. And I'm like, you know what? The great thing is you're downsizing. You're getting more organized with every place we move to.
Yeah.
So I try to flip it into something positive for them. And like just seeing that they're okay and they're getting along and like, oh,
Yes.
we're in a new neighborhood now. We live in
Yes.
Westwood
How
Village.
exciting. Yay. Make all the fun.
Exciting, right? We do shopping. Look at, we're next to a Target, Trader
Yes.
Joe's. Like they find that exciting and like somehow it's working out. Like
Yeah.
they
That's
have adapted pretty well.
That's because you're a good mom.
Thank you.
Because everything you feel and everything you transmit to your kids, it's what they perceive, you know, like the perception. And you making that fun. Just like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always, I mean, obviously I have my meltdowns too.
Yes.
And I try not to, but it's just hard because just dealing with the change, you know,
The change.
the life change.
The
like,
change at this moment, you know, in this time, at this age, with the children and
yeah,
geographically.
you just don't anticipate it. You don't anticipate moving
Right.
3 times with your kids in under 4 months.
Yes,
You just pick a home and you live there, and
absolutely.
everything just got flipped. And people say like life can change in a minute, and it's so true.
So true. It can change like that.
And I feel bad, you know, for the people who really lost everything.
Everything.
You know, granted, like our home is not what it used to be. The value's not there. So there's definitely going to be a huge adjustment with
Yes.
that. But these people who've lost didn't
They
even get to
lost
go back into their
nothing.
home. It was like,
Yeah.
they couldn't go in and grab a photo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm lucky in that way for sure. My kids are too.
Yes. Yes. It's been so devastating. That and then, you know,
It's pretty wild.
we've been going through a lot of change, a lot of challenges. I read a quote earlier that was saying, "You're not suffering of depression. You're just absorbing the reality we're in." You know, a particular challenge in your life that you thought, "I'm not gonna be able to get out of this one," and what helped you to overcome it?
You know, being single in LA for a long time was depressing in my 30s. And I think it's like, you know,
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere, but there's a magnification, you know,
Yes.
in LA. But being single here and just being lonely, so lonely. And I have single friends here who are really lonely, you know?
Yes.
And not to say that you can't be lonely in a relationship, because you can, and there's plenty of people who
yes. Yes.
but that was definitely like just trying to find my place. And so I was about 38 and I was like, okay, you know, my clock is ticking. I definitely want kids, and that needs to be my next big decision. Like, because there were some days I was like, I want kids, but you know what? I love my freedom. I don't really know if I want to do this. And
Yes.
that wavering back and forth, I feel like kept it away because I couldn't really make a decision, and therefore I couldn't attract it, if you believe in that, manifesting. So
Yes.
the moment, like it took like a week. I locked myself in my apartment at the time, and I told myself I'm not leaving here until I make a decision one way or another, whether I want kids or I don't. So
Wow.
I sat there and I asked myself, like, what are my blocks? What are my fears? And I worked through them all. And at the end of the day, I chose, yeah, I do. I want kids. And my biggest number one reason why I wanted kids was because I knew if I didn't have kids, I would 100% regret it.
Miss out.
And my biggest fear is missing out. My biggest fear is regretting something that I didn't do.
Something that you can't reverse it.
And you
at
can't
that
reverse
point,
it.
right?
And at some point, it was not going to be my decision anymore as I get older. So the second I made that decision, it was really like a dark time for me up until I made that decision. And then everything changed. I actually met
the father of your
my
children. Yeah.
and, and I'm so grateful because I was 39 and just in time. I had my daughter, you know, at 40 years old. I was pregnant at 40, and I told myself I want to be pregnant by the age of 40, and I was.
And that's it.
So-
Yeah. Yeah. I always said, I just want to have kids when I meet, it was reversed for me. My son made me like that. But he came in the right time and of my life. And, I'm very grateful for him. And it's the most amazing thing ever happened. It's a healthy obsession to have your children.
Oh yeah.
When they say, oh, being a grandma or a father is your second chance. You do it better than with your kids, right? Okay, and I'm not going for that one.
Yeah.
I'm going for the good shot now.
Now, yeah.
And that's my chance. It's this and it's him, and I do it for him, and I'm already that. I was very lucky that I had a wonderful grandmother, raising me, and the love of my life for sure, soulmate for sure. I bring that in my baggage,
Yes.
in myself, and I give it to my son. So that is my completeness that I'm bringing to my son at this stage of my life, at this age, at this moment, with the person I am and the person I'm evolving into being with him, right? Do you feel that you are in your growth, your self-growth?
Oh, for sure. I think age definitely has something. I've gone through so much that I think that definitely made me the mom that I am, being able to love my kids the way I do. And I was never this emotionally available in my 30s. There's no way I was patient in my 30s.
Sounds like you hated your 30s.
I mean, I was just a different, it was a
Yeah.
different mindset. It's like people
Yeah.
ask you, do you cook? You're like, no, I don't really in the mindset to sit
I
down
see.
and really make a nice meal. Like I am in the mindset in my 40s to be a parent,
Yeah.
like I was ready, like you said, like it was the best experience of my life. And I tell my daughter all the
It's so
time,
much fun.
the first 2 years of your life, I tell her all the time, were the best 2 years of my life. And I say it, and she hears other women say it, and she looks at me every time, like we're watching a show or a movie. And she just looks at me like, it's true. It's not, I'm not just saying it.
I swear I'm getting emotional
Yeah.
about it because it's the same for me. I'm
best.
just like, thank you,
limitless.
God, every
Limitless.
minute. They grow too fast.
They do.
And some days I'm like, how am I gonna do all this today?
Yeah.
So when you were talking about your challenging time, was that for you? And what holded you up?
I just couldn't love myself at that time. And I was just so hard on myself, like why I wasn't further along. And then it was just like self-perpetuating. Like it was just this vicious cycle. And then the harder I was on myself and not loving myself, the worse I would feel. It was like, basically I was in this
Useless.
depression.
Like, yeah.
I was in a relationship at the time, back and forth. It was like off and on constantly. And I was like, I need to really end this relationship because I'm wasting time. And these are the years, like, to have children. Being so lonely, like breaking apart was the hardest part. Because I was so lonely, but I had to do it to find the right person to have my kids.
So what was that you did exactly? A psychological journey, like a therapy journey, like what really helped you to snap out of that
Depression.
limbo depression
Yeah.
stage that you were going through? What helped you?
I had a moment. I just looked in the mirror.
Yeah.
It was in my bathroom, and I told myself, this is your bottom. Like other people's bottoms are maybe drugs and alcohol or, like who
This is
knows?
nice,
Like
yeah.
this is your bottom. Like you've been depressed for 2 years. You need to move on and get over it and take a leap of faith because I was also afraid because I was in mother-bearing years. Like, am I going to break up with this guy? And who am I going to meet next? And then I'm going to hit 40 and it's going to be too late. But little did I know I was going to have my first child at 40, my second child at 45. Like, and I wasn't going to have intervention like my doctors were scaring me. My doctors were like, you better hurry up. You better freeze your eggs. You better this and you better that. I had no issue getting pregnant. And I'm not saying
Perfect.
that. And I don't think I'm special. Like, I think a lot of women are fertile. A lot of women can have kids in their 40s and 50s, but
Yes.
doctors don't tell you that.
Yes, and it's a lot about with you too, with your mind, your body, how you hold, how you feel, how
Stress,
you keep
yeah.
yourself. Of course, stress, how you take care of you, and again, your mind. Because I know I always think like I do believe in when they say the mind, cannot maybe cure a cancer, but it can create one. I do believe in that. Like you can literally get yourself sick, and it's very important to keep that in mind. But it's admirable and amazing that you actually recognize that. Did you feel like maybe you had did you have a model, like someone like I want to be like
I
that?
didn't have a role model, but I always heard like, you can't have it all. You can't have it all. Like, you've got to pick something, pick a career, do that, and I was like, that's not right. Like, so I'm not going to be an artist anymore just because I have a child, or just because I own a business, I can't act, or because I'm acting, I can't do voiceovers. Like, who says? Like, and so
Who sets these
Who
rules?
says that? It's like I had this business for how many years? Like since my daughter was before she was born, 2017.
Yes.
And then I booked that Netflix reoccurring, if you remember, during COVID.
Yes.
And my daughter looked at me and she goes, "Mom, I didn't know you were an actress," because she's so used to me peeling people, just being this chemical peel esthetician
Yes.
lady, that she didn't expect me to, like. She's like, "I didn't even know," and I'm like,
Yeah.
But I was hoping to give her inspiration because by role modeling, she sees like, wow, my mom was this. She was a business owner. She's an artist.
Yes.
That just made me feel so
Yeah.
good.
Everything you do, you bring it to the end.
Right.
And it takes a lot of organization and rearrangements and a lot of things to, eliminate from your plate, because it's hard to do everything
How you
in
do
one.
one thing is how you do everything.
I don't even want to see what I
don't know.
Yeah.
I've always heard that. I always tell me, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So do the dishes right,
Yes. Hey, by the way, our co-producer brought us a little gift today.
Oh.
And these are the cutest little mugs ever, because
cute.
we are two very cool moms.
Yeah.
So one says, in my cool mom era, and one is, I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. Which one would you want? I'm going to make you choose.
In my cool mom era.
There you go.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So while we are sipping our orange mango juice in our cool mom era and cool mom. If someone wants to be a mama 40, what would you say to that person? Like, always follow your body, I always say.
I thought that I was going to be a tired mom at 45, but the second time around, and actually had more energy with the second baby than I did the first. I did. And that's just like, don't think, don't put it out there just because you're tired at 38 that you're going to be exhausted in your 40s, because it's not true.
It's not.
Life will surprise you, and babies, I don't know if it's biological, but you have more energy with kids. Like, you just do.
You know what makes you tired? Inertia.
What is it?
Inertia. Not doing anything, not creating stimulus, has to be a healing around that, because one of the things about inertia is, in my opinion, is when you don't have any stimulus and your brain is just not in a good place, and then is easy to fall into a place of laziness. My son and I, we're a squad, literally, and I know you are like that with your kids. The best little things, they last too short.
Isn't it crazy though that I built my business after having my first child, not any time prior to that? Was I ever as productive?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a coincidence? I was so driven.
No.
When she went to preschool, like, I had 5 hours a day to just go at it. And I did. And I loved it. And when I'd see her, I'd pick her up, give her a big hug and a kiss. It was just the best.
The best.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also so nice to feel that calmness, that serenity in that alone time with yourself, while your child is serene and happy and running around in the backyard, or just having a little snack, and you're like there and you observe how serene he is or she is, because of you, because of the stability you create, because of the routine, because of the consistency. I just feel it's so rewarding. And maybe you're tired because maybe you wanted to sleep an extra 30 minutes, or maybe because the night before you had to change, when again, in the diaper era, obviously, you had to change it, but it just never, that tiredness, it never makes you grumpy.
One of the things is the emotional roller coaster. When they're happy, you are happy. But one thing no one ever prepares you for, or they tell you about prior to having kids, is that when they're not happy, they're growing pains, teething, whatever it is, they can't sleep at night, or they have a cold.
Also the emotions.
And just emotions, they're just sad, or they're cranky, they haven't slept.
Yes.
There's usually a reason that you're on that roller coaster with them. So when they are not happy, it is so physically, and they say that hormonally, like biologically, we take it on.
Listen, I know this is fantastic. It's perfect. I was at Target buying the night diapers. Yeah. And while I was paying, he wants to play with my mini leather wallet that I keep only for the cards. And I needed it to pay. So I took and from him. He was on the stroller, and he went so loud with the talking back to me. Why I have to give that back to him? And I'm like, give me a second. In the meantime, I go to pay, and the lady at the cashier is asking me questions, and I'm like, what? Because my brain was so focused and connected with my son's voice that I'm like, listen, it's not that I don't pay attention to you, but right now I'm in a red mode.
It does.
And she
so
said,
stressful.
don't worry, it's the mom sensor. It's like your built in you, that once that you hear your child doing that, you literally do not hear, and you don't care about anything and anyone, no matter who they are. Is absolutely so true. All of a sudden, all the BS fall through. It's like a little strain. They all, fall through it, and all is left is what is the best for your child. It's like you become a war machine about that. So I don't have time for your BS. Move on.
It's true. You don't have time. That's the thing. Time is a commodity, and like when you really value your time, like you sit in a movie for 2 hours. It was the worst movie. You're like, I can't believe I just did that. Like, you know what I could have done in those 2 hours? Look at this stuff. Like, I would never have thought that before.
It's been since I've been to a movie theater. It's been a little bit. I just love having my time with my son, and I take him out, and he loves going out, and all these little changes you notice. Like before, it's like the other day I putting the shirt on, and the hand, it was not coming out of the sleeve, and he's like, is it stuck? I'm like, how do you know this word? Stuck? He's 22 months old.
So cute.
Is it stuck?
Oh, I just love it.
gosh.
I never correct them.
I'm like,
never correct it.
No.
So cute.
I don't.
So my daughter's name is Clea, and Frankie used to call her Kia. So for the longest time, we would just let him, till he was like 5. Kia. And finally, we corrected him one day, and he's like, what? And we're like, it's Clea. And he's like, oh. And so we always remind him, remember when you used to call your sister Kia? And he's embarrassed. But
so cute.
Yeah, it was so cute.
And then, and also the sensor they have. I feel like my son is like, watch. Even if I'm like in my studio, like next door to my main entrance, like literally there, in my yard, he knows where I am. He knows every movement I do, and the same is for me. It's unbelievable.
Connected.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Your favorite quote?
You can't change anyone. You can only change yourself, and that changes everything.
So true. So true. So true. So true. Thank you so much for being with us, Nidah. This was very, very much fun with you, and very good times. A lot of insights, a lot of real life. Thank you so much for listening. Va tutto bene. I hope you're enjoying this podcast. Either you're driving, or you are working out, or you're cleaning the house, or while your kids are playing, or if you don't have any kids, while you're chilling. This episode is sponsored by Lux Stage LA, a wonderful filming studio in Los Angeles, in Burbank. We really loved working with them, and they guessed us, by the way, with my horse. It was so much fun. Actually, was supposed to sit on the couch, and he did not like the couch. That was another very funny story that I'll tell next time. That episode will be airing next week. I can't wait. You'll find out who the guest is. And anyways, fate bravi, grazie mille, e remember, va tutto bene.
Va tutto bene.
Va tutto bene.
Ciao.
Ciao bella.
Ciao bella.
The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purpose only. This is not a professional advice. I recommend seeking out professional guidance when making any decisions that could impact personal growth, health, and well-being.